Oh, baby. Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. The Dodgers can't lose. Julio Rodriguez is hot as the sun. Jose Siri is producing the show. It's front office. Let's go! Got you with the lefty butt. Hello!
Squared around on me.
And welcome to Talkin Baseball, episode 703. I called it a front office show. That's not true. This is the clubhouse show. A bunch of clubbies, kids getting the balls together, ready for the big game. Jose Siri does not give a you-know-what. This one's brought to you by SeatGeek. As always, use code TALKIN. Get $20 off your first order. Go to a game. See Shohei Ohtani pitch for the Angels. Or not pitch for the Angels. Maybe just hit. Because he's on Triple Crown pace. Jake is gone. I don't even know where he's at, Beavers. I have no clue. This guy travels more than anyone I know. He's like a freaking Delta pilot just going places
He's
weekend
in some
after
Virginia
weekend.
mountain. I don't know what it's about.
He is going to get eaten alive in the Appalachians. Let me tell you that right now. James was supposed to be on the show. He had some stuff that he had to commit to. So it's just me and Beavers and Jose Siri. Beavers, what's up, man? How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Heard people, last week we got this pairing together, and they were calling it the Superstars only. And I put a little lead in my pencil. I'm happy to get that together again.
I wouldn't mind doing every Friday, just you and I. I love the youth. I steal your youthful energy and I put it into my own body. I actually need that this weekend. We got some things going on, but a lot of good baseball. As we were looking over the sheet and talking about what we're going to do for the show, we noticed, hey, man, this is a massive interleague show. There's 9 interleague series, a lot of them 2-gamers, some fun ones to go along. As I mentioned in the open, the Dodgers are so hot. Julio Rodriguez is so hot. Fernando Tatis Jr. is so hot. A lot of good ball being played. I don't know. I guess we'll get right into it.
I think so. Yeah. Before we hit the first league, we mentioned it off the top, but today's episode and the whole show is always sponsored by SeatGeek. They are a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. I mean, you listen to this show, you know what they're about. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. More than 70,000 events every single day. We are most familiar with sports, but they got concerts and Broadway shows and all kinds of stuff. Festivals. You can get tickets to anything on this app. They always want to make sure you're getting a good deal. So when you're on the app, look for the green dots. Green means good. Red means bad. If you're familiar with the stoplight system, same way. It works the same. They are telling you if you're getting a good deal here. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. We've got the hookup. Use code TALKIN for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code TALKIN. And there's a link in the description that you can click to download the app.
I say hit that music, dude. And of course, we are starting off in the American League, where the Seattle Mariners went into Kansas City. They took 3 of 4 from the Royals. It was not easy, though. The Royals won the first game 7-6 before the Mariners took the next 3. But again, these were all late inning comebacks or holding off the opposing team in that first game. 7-6 Royals, like I mentioned. Bobby Witt Jr. with the inside the park home run. Sal Perez with the 3-run homer. Julio had a massive day. It actually put the Mariners ahead before the walk-off bunt by Dairon Blanco in the 9th inning. It was beautiful. It was preceded by a Sal Perez RBI sac fly to tie the game. Blanco with the walk-off bunt. So that was awesome. After that, it was the Mariners doing what they had to do. Ty France lined a 2-run single in the center in the 10th inning to go up 10-8 on the Royals in that game. The Royals took care of business next 2 games. The Mariners took care of business next 2 games to win 3 out of 4. We're kind of going to get into this one, talk about Julio a little bit. So that's all I'll do on the burn. Moving on to the next series, Los Angeles Angels went into Texas. The Rangers took 2 of 3 from them because that's probably what should happen at this point. They won the first game 12-0, had to face more position players. They've done that more than any other team in all of the big leagues this year. The second game, they won 7-3 before losing on Wednesday 2-0. Reed Detmers took a no-hitter into the 8th inning of that game. The Angels won that one 2-0. A lot of good offensive performances by the Rangers in the series because that's exactly what they do. And then again, Shohei Ohtani showing up in that last game. He's got the most homers in the AL. He's on Triple Crown watch. We'll check that out. Rangers take 2 of 3. And then the last series in the American League was a 2-gamer split between the Detroit Tigers and my Minnesota Twins. Twins win the first game 5-3. Matt Wallner, the Minnesota Moose, hits a grand slam, overshadows Miguel Cabrera's last homer ever at Target Field. The Tigers won the next game 8-7. Maeda got roughed up a little bit. Actually, Reese Olson did as well. Split the 2-game set. Spencer Torkelson, freaking 2 homers against Minnesota, and that's it. That's all that happened in the AL. And I'm having Siri talk to me as I'm talking to you. I can't hear anything. What is going on?
Ooh, Trev, great job. Your standings in the AL, working east to west. Orioles lead the East, 74-47. They're 2 games up on Tampa. A little narrower than it was a couple days ago. Toronto is 7.5 back of Baltimore, 5.5 back of Tampa, if you're doing the math at home. Boston and the Yankees in that order, taking up the rear. Yanks below 500, by the way. Might come up later a little bit, but no reason to dwell. In the Central, your Twins, of course, leading the way. Cleveland's 4.5 back of them. Detroit in third, 8 games back of the Twins. White Sox and Royals, you're out. You know that. The Rangers still lead the West. They're 2.5 up on Houston. Mariners, leaning, is that a word? In the background. They're 6 back of Texas. Angels, you're starting to be a little bit out below 500. A's, you know what your deal has been all year. In the wild card, the 3 teams holding position in the AL are Tampa, Houston, and Houston's 3 games up on Toronto for that last spot. Seattle's just a half game back, though, of the Birds. Boston, 3.5 back, and the next closest team is the Yankees, 6.5 back. So, no. Angels, you're 7 back of a playoff spot. Those are the AL standings.
I want to let everyone know that while I was doing that burn, I had Siri from my MacBook talking in my ear about some nonsense the entire time. I don't know how it got started. I don't like it. Please don't do that again to me, computer, because I couldn't hear a dang thing. We got through it, though.
Got through it. You couldn't tell.
You mentioned Seattle, half game back of Toronto for that last wild card spot. They take care of business in this series. They go into Kansas City, and look, Kansas City has some ball players. Sometimes they play some inspired ball. And in fact, this series was really close, but Seattle takes care of business. We've talked about their easier schedule going forward, and we talked about Julio Rodriguez needing to get it going for them, along with some other guys. He's crushing the ball. We're going to talk about him later in the show, but this is exactly what the Mariners needed to do going into Kansas City. And like I mentioned, first couple of games were interesting. Kansas City answers back in the first game. We get the walk-off bump by Dairon Blanco, the crazy inside the park homer by Bobby Witt Jr. Sal Perez actually started the game off with a 3-run homer. Seattle had to come back in this game. They ended up taking the lead, and then the Royals finished them off. But then after that, it was all Seattle in this series. And again, they had to do this to maintain pace, Beavers.
Yeah, these games probably a little closer than Mariners fans wanted by final score, but yeah, you sweat it out a little bit, but that's the result you're looking for when you're getting 4 against this Kansas City Royals team at this point in the year. Seattle does their job, and they're right there for a playoff spot. Still another series with Kansas City, I think, this season after this, and they still got some against Oakland. So schedule, for the most part, is in their favor. Seattle got to be feeling pretty good right now. Not dead.
Shout out Brady Singer in their first game. Took a no late into the game. He's done that a couple different times in his career. September 10th, 2020 was his 8th big league start.
Yeah.
He was 4 outs from a no hitter, and then this one, I have it. I took a no hitter into the 7th inning, and again, the Royals had a 5-0 lead. They blow that lead, have to come back and win it in the last inning, which was nice for them. After that, like I mentioned, or we mentioned, all these games are a little bit closer than Seattle would want to, but that's kind of the ball that they play. And they had some guys come through that they've needed to come through offensively. Ty France in the second game, like I mentioned, he had the big hit to get them up by 2 runs. There was a 7-run 4th inning in this game for Seattle. Eugenio Suarez, Ty France, Teoscar Hernandez, and Josh Rojas all homered in that inning, which is a nice one to have if you're trying to beat the Royals and you get down early. You end up hitting 4 homers in that inning. That's a nice one to have. Teoscar Hernandez in the 3rd game had the tie-breaking sacrifice fly in the 8th inning. Julio just kept going off and off and off. And I want to talk about him, but I think we're going to talk about him more in Fuego.
True. Yeah, he's a guy they specifically needed to go to get the whole engine moving, and he has. He's been going. It's good for Julio, good for the Mariners.
In the last game, Matt Brash recorded this 4th save, taking over some of the late inning responsibilities. Him and Munoz doing that with Sewall being traded. I believe he was the one in the 9th in the first game, so he kind of gave it up there. Then followed it up with a nice series, and that's really what happened. Seattle is right where they need to be. Cal Raleigh, I think, is the second fastest or fastest Mariner to 50 homers in franchise history, which is nice to see.
And not the guy you would have expected, but I like it.
Yeah, it is good. And that's it. Get on the Mariners. Take care of business, man. And Bobby Witt Jr. is going off too. He's a special player, man.
Yeah, he's gonna be a problem.
Moving on, the Rangers take 2 of 3 from the Angels. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this. It was a bludgeoning the first game, 12-0. The Rangers win that one, 7-3 in the second game. Again, just great performances all around from the Rangers. Scherzer goes 7 innings pitched, no earned runs in the first game. Then you have all the usual suspects. Simeon has a homer. Adolis Garcia has a homer. Grossman, how about that? Hey. Continuing 2 for 4, 2 doubles. Mitch Garver, who filled in for Jonah Heim, who I believe is back. He was 2 for 3 in that first game, and filled in admirably for Jonah as he was out. So shout out to my guy Mitch Garver, former Sequence guest. Corey Seager, 3 for 5 with 2 homers in the second game. A nice start by Jordan Montgomery. I mean, this is why you go out and get those guys at the trade deadline to bolster your starting staff. You have Scherzer doing that. You have Montgomery doing what he's doing. And then, like I mentioned, in the third game, Reed Detmers takes the no-no into the 8th. Shohei hits the homer. They win that one 2-0. But Rangers also taking care of business against the Angels here to maintain their lead in the AL West, with Houston kind of still breathing down their neck a little bit, Beavers.
Yeah, you certainly can't take any lead you have on Houston for granted if you're Texas. So good job, taking care of your business. And the more interesting angle is just how bad it's been for the Angels since they went all in. They're 6-13 since July 28th. Giolito has not quite put it together there yet. Leon has an ERA in the 4 since coming over, which that's not going to make a huge difference. Cronin Grichuk, in albeit small sample sizes, it's only been less than 2 weeks, or less than 3 weeks. But their WRC pluses are in the 50s since coming over to LA, and just every move they made has been bad so far, and it has not resulted in winning, and it's just a very different vibe than 2-3 weeks ago. we all were hoping they'd make the push.
Yeah, the Rangers have their best start in 120 games in franchise history.
Mm.
That's got to feel good for Rangers fans. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about Reed Detmers. He did throw a no-no last year. I saw him throw against the Twins earlier this year. This guy has no-hit potential every time he steps on the mound. Like if he can,
He's got that kind
I
of
think
stuff.
it's the third time through the order he gets a little shaky. If I remember my notes correctly from way back when. But when he's got it going, he's got crazy swing and miss stuff, which helps in these no hit bids. Marcus Semien ended up ending this one for him, but another great outing for him. And what's been obviously a very disappointing, as you mentioned, season for the Angels. Then especially since the trade deadline, it's been tough, man. It's really been tough for them. But him and Ohtani have been bright spots for sure.
Yeah, they have some pieces that you're long-term excited about. A lot hinges on Ohtani sticking around for a while, but I do like a lot of the young pitching they have. Detmers, he feels like a guy, if he has his A stuff, he is a candidate to throw a no-hitter any given start. Trying to find some time through the order numbers, but yeah, I do like him.
The overall numbers kind of have never been great. Last year he had a 3.77. That was his best year. This is a smallest sample size as he's a young guy, but when you watch him, it's Blake Snell-ish, where it's like about control and about command and getting ahead of hitters, and he'll get the pitch count up there because of that. But when he's right, it's really nasty.
Yeah, even this year, he's got to figure out the third time through. He gets better the second time through compared to first time facing guys, but the third time through opponents have a 938 OPS and about 104 plate appearances this season. So that's a lot of pitchers have that problem.
Yeah, that is true. That is a statistic that hurts a lot of guys. The final series, as we're going through these pretty quickly, in the American League, only 3, like I mentioned, and same with the NL. The Detroit Tigers split with the Twins. Twins win the first game 5-3. Tigers 8-7 in the second game. Young guys for the Twins continue to do it. Wallner hits the grand slam. Royce Lewis is back in the lineup. He goes 1 for 3 with an RBI. To get the job done. Bailey Oberg kind of has a bounce back start. Only 5 innings pitched, but 2 earned runs. This one was fun because Miguel Cabrera did hit the homer, and it was a freaking laser. And I kind of like seeing that. I don't know. It didn't affect the game for the Twins in a negative way because Wallner did his thing. So I'm happy to see Miggy, have one final blast there at Target Field. Although I posed this question to Jolly on Baseball Today, and I'm going to give it to you now, Beavers.
Okay.
Miguel Cabrera, obviously, one of, if not the best right-handed hitter I've seen. I guess people are always going to point to Pujols. I just saw way more of Cabrera, but I'll give Pujols and Cabrera. They're both this incredible right-handed
of the generation. They're a 1A, 1B. Yeah.
So, of all the places that he played, Beavers, with let's just say 100 plate appearances. I think that's what I did yesterday. Where do you think he has the lowest OPS?
It's where he struggled the most. For him, struggle is relative. Trying to think of a big ballpark that maybe would have kept him in, and then that make Comerica's the biggest one, right? Let's say Minnesota and say I believe in you and your Twins.
No, that's not. That's a bad one. That's a bad guess.
He got a lot of opportunity to figure that place out.
I believe he had like an 895 OPS at Target
That
Field.
might be his worst of any field. I don't know.
Two surprising ones for me. With the 100 plate appearance caveat, it's actually the Rogers Center in Toronto.
Really?
He only had around a 700 OPS. And then if you go back, it's actually Petco. He has less than 100 plate appearances there, but I believe his OPS is in the 5s. Petco. Everything else besides those are like above average, like 770. This guy just didn't miss, man.
And probably those Petco ones. I'm assuming those are like early days. Marlins he wasn't quite Miguel Cabrera yet.
And then the last game, Detroit Tigers, they win that one. What was the score? It was 8-7. A bunch of the young guys have gone off, and I've watched the Tigers play a little bit more this year as I'm doing the Twins games. They have some fun guys, man, and like I like the way they play baseball. The roster just isn't really there yet, so it's interesting to watch them play because you see flashes of almost like brilliance out there on the field, but it's not consistent enough at all. Riley Green goes 3 for 4 in that second game. Torkelson 2 for 5 with 2 homers. He's crushing the ball right now. I'm sure we'll talk about him later. And Kerry Carpenter also had a homer, and then my guy Matt Vierling was 2 for 5 with an RBI in that second game. But again, there's good baseball out there. It's just not consistent enough. And the Twins, they split this series. They just can't. They can't run away from the Guardians. The Guardians are trying to give them the division, and the Twins just can't really do it. So let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, Twins.
Twins, just get right. Maybe one more like full hot streak to just lock it up, and you'll be feeling pretty good. Tigers, they have some top end talent that if it gets sorted out, I know some of those guys have been injured for a while on the pitching end of things. There's things to watch for there. Erod seems to like it. I don't know. I'm looking at Will Vest's Baseball Reference headshot for the first time, and that's a tough pick. They should have let him redo that. Torkelson, I know all year has been sort of teetering with an OPS plus above and below 100. So, goal for the rest of this season, get that to finish above.
Yeah, he looks like a guy that just like needs to do what he's doing now, which is just go on a torrid stretch and kind of just like feel like he's the man. Once you do that a couple times, it's like, okay, I'm here. I'm
capable of
good
this.
enough to play here. Yeah, 100%. Will Vest Baseball Reference picture. It's not the greatest picture I've ever seen, but like maybe that's just what he looks like, Biebers. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Just some cross-eyed stuff going. I would have let him. I would have given him a few options, which maybe they did. And I know Torkelson early on, like the first full year in the show, didn't go great, and I think it was a slower start this year. But there's a butter knife to be done that he's been just consistently producing for a lot of this season. So Tigers fans, I think, are mostly happy with what they've gotten this year out of him. And the little
Will
bit I see on
Vest
Twitter.
could be an extra or like a semi-lead character in an old Western, and like wouldn't have to go into hair and makeup at all. Just like
it's
put
ready.
some cowboy clothes on and you're ready.
Yes, since May, OPS in the 7s are better every month, and he's having a torrid August. So
go! I like his swing too. He's feeling it right now.
Good.
All right, I think it's time to move on to the National League. Another 3-game recap.
Oh yeah.
And we are going to start off in New York as the Pirates went in to face the Mets, and the Mets take 2 out of 3. They win the first game 7-2. They win the last game 8-3. The Pirates win the meat game in the sandwich 7-4. Cookie Carrasco goes 3 innings pitched in the first game, walks 3, 2 earned runs. But the Mets do enough offensively. Brandon Nimmo with the homer, Daniel Vogelbach with the homer, Jolly Olive's favorite player Francisco Lindor goes 2 for 3 with a double. A couple runs there. He got to 20 homers and 20 stolen bases. That's the first Met to do that since 2008. Gotta love that. Pirates win the second game. Delay with a 2-run double and a 6-run 7th inning for the Pirates. They took a 7-1 lead on a Jack Swinsky RBI walk, a Connor Joe hit by pitch, a pass ball to Peguera, and then Delay did his thing before a Brian Reynolds triple. That's a big inning. That's how you get the job done. Like I mentioned, the Mets won the last game 8-3. Tyler McGill, 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. Pete Alonso with the homer. DJ Stewart, get you 2 homers, big dog. They win that one 8-3. They take 2 of 3 from the Pirates. A little bit too late. And tank season is on. That's what Jolly said. So maybe this isn't a great result for the Mets. But they win 2 out of 3. Take it to the Pirates. In the second series, Jake Snakes go into Colorado and take 2 of 3. Now the Rockies won the first game 6-4 before the Diamondbacks won the next 2 8-5 and 9-7. Merrill Kelly has a good start in that first game. He goes 6 innings pitched with 2 earned runs, but Zeke Tovar goes 3 for 4. Brendan Rodgers has 2 ribbies, and Charlie Blackmon goes 2 for 3 as the Rockies win the first game. The second game, Mantiply opens the game for Arizona as they win 8-5. Tommy Pham has a big game. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. goes 2 for 5, and Christian Walker, this guy's a stud. 1 for 4 with a homer. He has 2 RBIs there. He had a home run in the first game as well. He had 2 homers, in that first game. He's going off. DBacks win the last game 9-7. Gomber for the Rockies gets roughed up 5 1/3 with 6 earned runs right there. And I think I got this mixed up. Christian Walker had 2 homers in the third game, not the first game, because he's a stud. Kyle Lewis, how about him? 2 for 4 in that third game. Corbin Carroll also 2 for 3 as the Diamondbacks take care of business. They're holding court. They're right there in the mix of it, Beavers. They take 2 of 3 from the Rocks. And in the last game, this one was a tough one for the Brew Crew. They get swept by the Dodgers. The Dodgers just can't lose right now. They go 6-2, 7-1, 1-0, and some really fun, good pitching matchups in this one. Hauser versus Bobby Miller. Miller outduels him. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run. Mookie Betts goes 2 for 4 in that game with the ribby as the Dodgers just kind of take that one in an easy fashion. 7-1 in the second game. Kershaw comes back, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run up against Wade Miley, who gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings. Not a bad start, but the Dodgers pitching staff has been really, really good, especially this series. And again, the Dodgers win the last one 1-0. That was the fun start for me. That was Burns versus Lynn. God, that's really fun. 7 innings pitched for Burns, no earned runs. 7 innings pitched for Lance Lynn, no earned runs. That's what we're talking about. And this is the Austin Barnes game. He hits a solo shot in the 8th inning to put the Dodgers up. And when you're getting contributions by Austin Barnes, first homer of the season for him, you know something's going well. They're winners of 11 straight. They sweep the series, and that is what happened in the National League. A quick one.
Another just quick set of 3. Big IL coming up today. Your NL standings.
9 series in the IL.
9. Woo. A lot of 2 gamers. Your NL standings. Atlanta is 12.5 games up on the Phillies, which normally when you got that big a gap, it means that next team isn't in a playoff position. They are. They're 12.5 up on the Phillies, who are 66-55. Braves are sneaking up on their 80th win. Miami, 16.5 back of Atlanta, 16 flat back of Atlanta. Mets and Nats, nope. Brewers, they lead the Central, 2 games up on both the Cubs and the Reds. Pirates, 10.5 back. Cardinals, they are in last in the Central. In the West, Dodgers are 74-46, leading the way. 10.5 up on San Francisco, 13 up on Arizona, 17 up on the Padres. In the wild card, Phillies, Giants have the top 2 spots, and then we have a 3-way tie by games back for the final wild card spot between the Cubs, Marlins, and Reds. Cubs have played 2 fewer games, so their winning percentage is higher, so technically they would have the spot right now. They have that tiebreaker if the season ended today. More on that soon. DBacks, you're just a game back. Padres are 5 back, trying to get all the way back into the mix. We'll see. Mets, you're 7 back. 10 games below 500. Those are your NL standings.
All right. First series, we don't have to go too in-depth here. It's the Pirates at the Mets. Again, Mets take 2 out of 3. Both these teams are out of it. Both these teams probably don't want to win a ton of series.
Yeah, I think from up above, I don't know if winning is what's most important the rest of the way. There was I watched one kind of full game. I guess it was the last game of this series. And it for a while felt like two teams not trying to win, or certainly not putting their
Well,
bodies on the line. The
yeah,
players
you
are
get to
trying to
this
hit.
point of the season and you're out of it. It's daunting, man. You see the 6 weeks ahead of you. You understand, what that means for you and your career. And I think that's when guys start to play a little bit more selfishly.
Yeah. And there's some young guys getting tastes or guys who've been journeymen who are just like trying to get some numbers in, get a deal for next year.
100%.
It all makes sense.
100%. Shout out Francisco Lindor. I mentioned he went 2020. It's the third time in his career he's done that. He did it in 18 and 19 for Cleveland. And now he does it again for the Mets. And that's no small feat, man. 20 stolen bases, 20 homers. If you can consistently do that, you're a dang good ball player.
Yeah, I know. I know the steals are going to be up across the board, but it's still 20 still a number that sticks out. We'll see where that lands as we get used to these rules. But Lindor goes, man. He's cool. DJ Stewart has a 2-homer day on the last game of this set. He's a fun watch. Just sucker for that kind of body. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like that from you.
He had a good quote. They asked after the game, like, what motivates you? Because obviously they're not pushing for a playoff spot at this point. He's a guy who hasn't bounced around. He's gone Orioles to Mets, but he's a guy, fighting for spots and stuff. And he mentioned, I've got a young daughter. Diapers motivate me. I got to pay for that. So
no, man, I don't know how far I want to get into this because we still have a lot of show left, but you get to a point. And I hope people realize this. For a guy like DJ Stewart, I don't know what he's made in his career. I guess we could. You want to get that up?
I can look into that
as I'm talking about it. It's you play ball in high school, you play ball in college, then you get drafted, and you don't really make any money in the minor leagues, and then you get to the big leagues, and everyone thinks, oh, he got to the big leagues, he made it, he's rich. That is just not the case. Because you have to think about this, you're not making good money in the minor leagues at all. Even if you're just not making enough money really to sustain the lifestyle, to be traveling around, having, a rent here, rent back home, all that stuff. So you have to perform at the big league level for a long time to really make enough money where it's you have a big head start in life, or you're financially set. Very few guys actually get financially set for the rest of their lives playing baseball. That's why when you have the opportunity to make some money, to be able to give you that chance, you got to be selfish about it. The window is so small, and it's so difficult to get to that point where you actually do make that money. So guys like this, DJ Stewart, which his career earnings are,
he's made in major league salaries. It looks like he's nearly eclipsed 1.5 mil. He's a guy, he was a first round pick, so he does have the bonus there, that 3.5 mil total in pro ball. But yeah, that's
over how many years?
He's 29 years old. Was drafted in 2015. So we're approaching
9 years.
Yeah.
So even if we do that, and people just bear with me, because I know I'm talking about millions here. We're talking about all this stuff, but I kind of want to put it into perspective.
And sure, on the whole,
in pro ball,
yeah, sure, on the whole, that is still more than most normal people. Yes, make over 9 years.
The signing bonus obviously helped that out a lot.
Yes,
but I would tell you this: I don't think that DJ Stewart is set for life for money.
No, he as things lie right now, not a guy who doesn't have to work again.
Yeah, you got to pay taxes on that money.
Yeah.
And you have to, like I said, it can be an expensive lifestyle to live because you are doing your rent here. Most likely you have some sort of rent or mortgage back home. And yeah, it's just when you see guys just fighting at the end of the years like this to put up those counting stats, I don't know. It resonates with me a little bit because I think about this all the time with my own career. I could have easily not have had a good streak in 2012 and then maybe been on a different team where I didn't get the opportunities, and everything just is completely different. So there's this little moment in time where you got to turn it on and it can completely change your life. And so you'll see a lot of guys at that stage where they're trying to flip the switch so they can take the next step, I guess.
Get that a little more, get just a guaranteed deal for next year. There's a lot of guys, when we get labor potty a lot on this show. Hopefully we don't have to for a little while. These are the types of guys we're talking about, and guys who get even less time than this. So obviously we know about the guys who make now $40 million a year, but
I don't know if that whole segment's going to resonate with our fan base, but I don't know. I'm trying to paint a little bit of perspective on stuff like this. Anyways, Mets take 2 out of 3. And then we move on to the next series, and Diamondbacks having to do this. You got to take 2 or 3 from the Rockies. If you want to stay within the race, they got back over 500 with this series win. Kind of the usual suspects doing the thing for them in these games. Holding court, keeping pace is exactly what they need to do. I don't know if we need to get too far into this series.
No, just snaps for the DBacks. This is what you had to do. You're back involved. Since the losing streak, they've played a good brand. They've won 5 out of 6. They can get back on track and stay involved. And pretty much no matter what, this has been a win of a season for the franchise. But it'd be great to keep it relevant, and they are doing that.
Couple of guys they traded for got the job done. I mentioned Tommy Pham. He had an RBI double in the second game. Paul Sewald got in a little bit of trouble, loaded the bases, 1 out in the 9th, but he retired the final 2 batters to get his 24th save on the season. And then I messed this up in the burn, but Christian Walker in the 3rd game had his 2 homers. He's a stud, man.
Really
28
good.
homers on the year. Just a good hitter. Now the Snakes have 31 come from behind victories. It sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah, it feels like that's got to be up there.
I like that. They were trailing 7-6 in the top of the 8th inning, but then Christian Walker said, "I got you guys." Hits the 2-run homer to put them ahead. Yeah, he's fun. He's a lot of fun.
He's a really good player. Both sides of the ball. Oh, that's good stuff.
The last series in the National League was the Dodgers and the Brewers. And I love, first of all, this is an aesthetically pleasing series.
Yeah.
I think these are 2 really good baseball teams that go about things differently. Completely different payrolls. I would say that the Brewers aren't as gifted on their roster as the Dodgers, but still find ways to win games. Except for this series, they didn't win any of the games because they scored 3 runs in 3 games. The Dodgers starting pitching has been really, really good in August after it struggled in July. I mentioned Bobby Miller. Looks like he's kind of figured things out. He'll be a part of the rotation going forward for sure. Clayton Kershaw does his thing.
Yep, getting him back.
Lance Lynn has been insane since coming back. And I don't know when we're going to get into this Dodgers talk, but I sent the tweet out yesterday to our Talking Baseball chat about all the guys that they brought over at the deadline who have just soared. And it's been every single one of them. And I'm assuming these numbers are right. Like, are we getting played here? Because it kind of seems like we're getting played. Even you said, I'm getting my tinfoil hat on because this doesn't seem right.
They're 9 for 9, and these include guys that came over before this season.
Oh, this is also before the year. You're right.
Yeah. So JD Martinez, who the year before he did not have a bad year, but the
power numbers are up with JD Martinez.
The homers are up.
All the
Jason
numbers
Hayward, the numbers are way up.
For Jason Hayward, he had a 555 OPS last year, 808 OPS this year. David Peralta is next. 652 OPS last year, 727 OPS this year. Kike Hernandez goes from Boston, where he had a 599 OPS, and he has an 805 OPS for the Dodgers and 60 at bats. Andres Jimenez comes over. He had 3 homers and 385 at bats. Now he has 3 homers and 51 at bats for the Dodgers. The list keeps on going, man.
Yeah.
And what's funny about the Dodgers is I saw something yesterday. Eric Kratz was talking on his show about why the Dodgers are this way and why he thinks it's not just scouting and drafting. It's the way they treat their minor leaguers, and they essentially try to treat their minor leaguers like big leaguers, give them all the information, feed them correctly. Now, that's not going to do anything for these guys here that we're talking about, but as an organization as a whole, they just do things better. I talked to Brian Dozier when I was with him in Minnesota for Mauer's Hall of Fame deal, and he couldn't stop talking about the Dodgers. And this is a guy that played for Twins, Nationals, Dodgers, and I believe he also didn't play with San Diego in the big leagues, but was with the organization.
Yeah, got a Mets
that was
taste.
COVID year. I believe he was with the Mets a little bit too. Always forget about Brian Dozier with the Mets.
7 games in the COVID year with the Mets.
So he couldn't stop talking about how good the Dodgers organization is, and the things he would mention was there's just the communication about what they want you to do and what you do well. Like everyone hears that all the time. He talks about, there's a lot of coaches per player. So you always feel like you have someone to talk to about certain things. And he says the way they relay the information to you is better. It's not just like, here's a packet of all the info, go ahead, do what you got to do. It's like they explain it to you and they're able to just get the best out of guys, whether that's pitch mix or repertoire or changing your grip for a pitcher or throw this pitch less, throw this pitch more. Maybe your arm slot needs to be here. They just seem they can identify guys who they know they can improve. And they've shown that here, man.
Yeah, I mean, seems like basically every big league level acquisition in the last year has it's been night and day for the most part, especially on the pitching end recently. Lance Lynn, he's got a 2 ERA since coming over. He was having his worst season as a big leaguer. Like even the homers have been way down from what he was giving up. Man, they've got the sauce there, man. It's
they've won 11 in a row, Beavers.
Yeah, they're fully going all year, and we've said this on the show before, but all year it was like, oh, they're quietly just being good again. And since the break, or specifically since August, they've fully gone.
Beavers, not too long ago, we were talking about the Diamondbacks in first place, and we're like, okay.
They had a decent lead, and we were talking about how, all right, Dodgers don't really care. They just want to get in the dance. They're fine.
They're 10.5 up on the Giants, 13 up on the Diamondbacks right now. What happened?
Dude, the team, they don't get into real ruts. They even when their starting pitching struggled, they can win games. And here you are. They're a team that's been there and done that.
For Milwaukee special. On this end, we talked about a bunch about the Dodgers. For Milwaukee's end of this one, you got beat by the better team. Essentially, you really did. And again, 3 runs in 3 games. You're not going to win many series, and you probably will get swept. That's what happened here. Nice start by Burns. He's been really, really good, especially as of late. But you ran into the Dodgers at the wrong time, essentially. You came in during a hot streak. It's very hard to beat this team when they're going the way they're going right now.
Yeah, they would have obviously loved to get at least one in here. They're another first place team. It's a good time to get a little litmus test in, see what another first place team will do. But I think they'll take a few lessons home from this. They're a smart organization.
Austin Barnes with the solo shot to put him up. I guess Nomar, I watched the clip, Nomar Garcia-Parra called it before the game. He said, I think Austin Barnes is going to hit his first homer of the season. And he did.
How about that?
Go Nomar, go. One other thing I wanted to mention from this. Oh, yeah, Mark Canha. It's his first homer with the Brewers, I believe, against Clayton Kershaw. Added a park Mark. I always like shouting him out when we can.
He's a good guy. Really good guy.
All right, that's the National League. So we covered the American League, 3 games, the National League, 3 games. And now we got the big, meaty beef rib of a recap with the Interleague. Is it brought to us by somebody?
The Interleague Recap and this show are sponsored by, prepping the graphic, BetterHelp.
Yes.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Maybe you're thinking about a career change or feeling like, you need some help in your relationship. Whatever it is, therapy can help you map out your future and trust yourself to find the way forward. Personally, right after I graduated college, I was doing some of this. I mean, we were part-time, but I needed a full-time gig. I was figuring that out. I felt like I had just figured college out socially and was like having friends. And I went through it. I talked to a therapist about it. That's a personal story. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. On there, and they've got it like a lot of places now, but it's just an online portal. You can set your own appointment. It's very easy, very simple. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. That'll be the best for you, but you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge if you aren't liking the fit. That's fine. The important part is finding the right person. Let therapy be your map. Visit with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/talkinbaseball and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/talkinbaseball.
All right.
The Interleague.
And here we go, Beavers. Oh, boy. I think I'm going to go past the music. We are starting in San Francisco. The Rays came in to visit. This feels like playoff baseball, even though they're in different leagues. Interleague, like I said, aesthetically pleasing. The Rays take 2 or 3, and this one was kind of a, I don't want to call it a snooze fest, but not too many close games here. The Rays take the first game 10-2. They take the last one 6-1, and in the middle, the Giants won that one 7-0. Glass now with a nice start in game 1. He goes 6 innings pitched with 1 earned run. Harold Ramirez, Christian Betancourt, and our guy, our producer, Jose Siri, all have nice games offensively as the Rays win that one 10-2. Tyler Glasnow throwing some cheese. He actually breaks Betancourt's strings of his mitt on a fastball because he is like a movie, essentially. Giants win the second game 7-0. Conforto goes 3 for 4. Wilmer Flores and Tyro Estrada both homer in that one. Interesting here, the Giants used 3 openers. They are just, it's interesting what they're doing with their starting pitching. It's why I mentioned Gabe Kapler as one of the front runners for NL Manager of the Year because of what he's had to navigate with his pitching staff. They win this one 7-0, and then the Rays take the last one 6-1 behind a great start by Aaron Civale, Josh Lowe gets it going for the Tampa Bay Rays. Is this where Luke Raley hit the inside the park homer? I think it is. That one was a lot of fun. Randy Arozarena, of course, goes 2 for 5 with a double and a run scored. Rays take 2 or 3 from the Giants. Moving on, Houston Astros go down to Miami, and they take 2 or 3. The Marlins won the first game 5-1 before the Astros won the next 2 6-5 and 12-5. In the first game, Framber Valdez goes 7 2/3 innings pitch. He's cruising until Miami decided to start hitting homers. Soler, Luis Arraez, and Josh Bell go back to back in that game to get the job done for the Marlins. Houston's offense got stymied by Dalton Feely's favorite pitcher, Braxton Garrett. He goes 5 innings pitched with 0 earned runs. But then it was all Astros from then on out. Christian Javier, he goes 4 2/3 going up against Johnny Cueto. Neither of these guys have their best stuff. They both go up 4 earned runs, but the Astros do it because Kyle Tucker is Kyle Tucker. He goes 2 for 4 with a homer. Chas McCormick also homers in that game, along with Yanir Diaz. They get the job done. And in the last game, Justin Verlander, he gets roughed up a little bit. 5 innings pitched with 4 earned runs. He goes up against Jesus Luzardo, who he gets roughed up. 3 2/3 3 2/3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, but the Astros just bang the ball to save Verlander. Chas McCormick 2 for 3 with a homer. Alex Bregman 2 for 5 with a homer. Kyle Tucker does it again because of course he does. He has 3 ribbies with a homer in that game. They win that 12-5. Astros are a wagon. Miami holding on for dear life there in the NL wildcard race. Astros take 2 of 3. Moving on, your Yanks. Oh my goodness. Beavers. I can't wait to just go in depth on this one. They get swept by the Braves in Atlanta. This was the nail in the coffin for many Yankees fans. I follow a lot of them. 11-3 Braves, 5-0 Braves, 2-0 Braves. What did I say about scoring 3 runs in a 3-game set? It's not going to be good for you. And like the Brewers, you got swept. Clark Schmidt, 2 1/3 innings pitched, 8 earned runs in the first game. That ain't going to get it done. Luis Severino, 4 innings pitched, 3 earned runs in the second game. That ain't going to get it done. Randy Vasquez, 3 1/3, 2 earned runs. Doesn't matter. The Braves are a wagon. The Yankees are essentially dead in the water here. They get swept. The Yankees get swept by the Braves. My goodness. What year are we in? 1996? I have a hat. I have a hat from that World Series, I think. I don't know what happened. Anyways, we'll get more into that series. Beavers are going to tell us all about it. The next series, Baltimore, the Orioles go down into San Diego. The Padres take 2 of 3 here, and they needed that bad, Beavers. They're 5 games back right now as we stand. Orioles win the first game 4-1 behind a really nice start by Grayson Rodriguez. Yu Darvish goes 7 innings pitched. In that one, he ends up passing Hideo Nomo for most strikeouts by a Japanese pitcher in big league history. Gotta love that. Padres win the next 2 games 10-3. Flaherty gets roughed up, and that start for the Orioles. They win the third game 5-2. Blake Snell does his thing. Gary Sanchez with the grand slam against Flaherty as they score 5 runs off him in the first inning. And then Fernando Tatis does his thing in the last game, 3 for 4. He also steals home. Trent Grisham plays some good defense. He hits a homer in that third game. Padres are still right there. I'm not willing to give up, even though they're under 500, even though I just called your Yankees dead. For some reason, I still think the Padres can do it. They take 2 of 3 from the Orioles. Moving on, this one's going to be quick. Oakland A's versus the St. Louis Cardinals. I believe it's the 2 worst records in each respective league. It's close if it's not. The Cardinals take 2 of 3. They win the first 2 games 7-5 and then 6-2 for the A's. Blank them 8-0 in the last game. Paul Blackburn with a really nice start for the A's there. 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. This one is kind of a snooze fest for me. We'll go over it quickly, but that's it for now. Cardinals take 2 of 3. Moving on. This one was a tough one. A little mini what is you doing, baby? The Red Sox were trying to stay in contention for that wild card spot behind the Mariners. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals, who actually been playing really good baseball as of late. The Red Sox win the first game 5-4 before the Nationals win the next 2 6-2 and 10-7. James Paxton with a nice start in the second game. Mackenzie Gore matches him, but he gets injured. Chris Sale, Patrick Corbin square off in the last game. Sale goes 4 1/3 innings pitched with 2 earned runs, 3 runs overall. In the first game, Tristan Casas continues to hit 2 for 4 with 2 ribbies. Pablo Reyes 2 for 4 with a double and a run scored. Red Sox win that one, like I said, before the Nationals. And Joey Meneses and Josiah Gray. And, he pitched in the first game. Who am I missing? CJ Abrams went off. They take 2 of 3. We got to get through this, people. Next series, Philadelphia Phillies play a 2-gamer against the Blue Jays, and they split. Blue Jays win the first game 2-1. Yusei Kikuchi and Zach Wheeler go up against each other. They both have strong lines. Wheeler goes 7 innings pitched with 1 earned run. Yusei Kikuchi has been on fire. He goes 6 innings pitched with one earned run. The Blue Jays get the first one. 9-4 for the Phillies. In the second one, Bryce Harper, a couple of homers. Kevin Gossman gets roughed up a little bit there. 5 1/3, 7 runs, only 5 earned. Nola's been getting hit around too, man. I'm kind of worried about that. I want to say I'm not worried about Nola, but I'm a little worried about Nola. He goes 5 innings pitched with 4 earned runs as they split the series. 2 more here in the interleague set. Cleveland Guardians go into Cincinnati for the Ohio Bowl. They split this 2-gamer. Guardians win the first one 3-0. behind a nice start by Logan Allen. Graham Ashcraft gives up 3 earned runs in 7 innings. The Reds cannot find offense. They lose 3-0. In the second game to get the split, they win 7-2. They rough up Syndergaard a little bit. 4 1/3 innings pitched for 6 earned runs there. And Andrew Abbott continues to do his thing. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. A split between the Guardians and the Reds. And the last series, another 2-game set, another crosstown rivalry. White Sox versus the Cubs at Wrigley Field. White Sox win the first game 5-3 on a La Pantera homer there. Kyle Hendricks goes 6 innings, 3 earned runs in the first game. It's not enough. The White Sox win 5-3. Cubs walk it off to get the series split. They win 4-3 as Chris Morel hits the walk-off. We'll get into it. But that's what happened in the interleague. And that was a long one. Now my throat is dry. And my mouth is dry, Beavers.
That's fair. Basically, it's a doubled up interleague.
Woo-wee. Again, we're going to go through these pretty quickly, people, because some of them matter and some of them don't.
That's the game.
The Tampa Bay Rays versus the Giants. Again, this one there was not many close games. I like this matchup a lot. Glasnow does his thing in that first game, and a bunch of guys hit. Rays just come into town and say, hey, here we are. 10-2 victory in the first game. Giants don't care. In the second game, they answer back. They win at 7-0 Beavers. Rays can't find any offense in that game. Going up against Jacob Junis and the rest of the San Francisco pen, they couldn't find anything. And then Savale, who's been, thank goodness they traded for him. I know they had to trade away a big prospect, but because of the injuries the Rays have had, they're able to continue to have somewhat of a regular pitching staff that can save this bullpen. Savale is part of that now. 6 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. And they get what they need done offensively. You have anything from this series that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, Savale, the second they acquired him, and that felt like such a Rays get. And he had a great year in Cleveland too before it. But yeah, he feels like kind of the quintessential Ray. They will max out his potential, because that's what the Rays do with kind of everybody. But yeah, I thought that was kind of an instant match that I was upset I hadn't thought about before the trade went through. And he showed it a little bit against a good team in San Fran. And this matchup's kind of sneaky, aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Although, I'm on record as saying the Rays have some of the worst uniforms in the big leagues. They're just so plain and so brutal. They don't do anything for me. The colors match up, but the Rays unis as a whole just don't do it for me.
They could use their next revamp of that, but
they need a revamp in the worst way, Beavers.
But I like their color scheme next to the Giants' color scheme, which I didn't think I would think about until I saw these two on paper. Yeah.
Go Giants, go. This is a team that, they just kind of, I know they lost this series, but they find ways to win games. I don't know if we're talking about Patrick Bailey later on in the show. We have a whole section devoted to him in our notes about his defense and about what he's done for this team, what he's meant to this team. I was aware of, what he was doing defensively. You just watch any of their games. He can throw the ball, man. And he throws this little sidearm kind of Johnny that I think is perfect to throw runners out, because you're constantly leading the guy tagging further up the line. So if you just get rid of the ball and you allow the second baseman or shortstop time to make an adjustment on it, give them a visual, get it out early so they can make an adjustment, you can go up the line. That's how you're going to get a lot of guys caught stealing, because you can tag up in the leg or up in the cleat. And if you're up the line enough, his hand's not going to be there. I feel like that happens a lot with him as he throws that sidearm ball. It kind of just tails right back into the runner and allows the person fielding the ball just to go get it and apply the tag right away instead of waiting for that ball at the bag and trying to swipe, right there. It's like you just get the ball, drop your glove down. You're going to hit a big body part there. The legs are the biggest part of the body.
You're gonna tag something.
To a lot of caught stealings.
You're gonna tag something. Yeah, that's the way you would kind of want it to. You'd want it to go that way if you're receiving. It's definitely interesting because you hear that about it and that doesn't sound that crazy, and then you watch a couple montages of him throwing guys out, and you're like, oh, that does look different, and you're a little surprised that that's not the way they teach it. Like it's not the
Yep.
the quintessential.
He looks more like an
throw.
infielder playing catcher. But then he
Yeah.
gets back there and the frame rate is really good. He's stealing strikes. He's doing everything that needs to be done. The pitcher's ERA with him behind the plate is, I think, almost like 2 full runs better than when they have my guy Blake Sable behind the dish. So I think, I don't always know what that means. I know pitchers like to throw to certain guys and maybe you call a different game, but he's obviously, we've talked about him many times, but he's done a really, really nice job there. And it seems like the Giants' winning formula is to have a catcher come back and help them.
They clearly value that position being just stable and a plus for them, and it makes sense when you think about it, because forever we've been told that that's like the most important position. Maybe prioritize that. Giants schedule watching a little bit. They're in the middle of what on paper is kind of like a brutal stretch that they've so far mostly handled. They go 500 against Rangers and Rays, which you'll take that. Or no, they lost both sets, but they're not getting swept. And then important stretches here: Braves, Phillies, Braves. So take care of your business there, and then they get 3 against Cincy at home, which I imagine will matter to them. As Cincy's a team competing for a wild card spot with them, as is Philly earlier, and then the Padres, who even if you're out on them, they're not a team you enjoy playing. So those will be tough wins on paper. Got a game plan right. Then the Cubs, and then the schedule lightens up a bit. But they're in the middle of a big important stretch in their season. So maybe if you tick that up just a little bit. Get some wins in Atlanta.
Good luck.
They this will kind of finalize where they're at in their season, I would guess. Obviously, anything can happen. They're in a good spot, so reinforce that during this time.
The Astros go down into Miami. They take 2 of 3. In that first game I mentioned, it was the homers. Getting the job done for the Marlins, which is just like not their type of baseball. They can hit for average, but they cannot slug. This game they did it. It was Bell, Soler, and Luis Ariz. Soler actually got to 30 homers, so snaps for him. That's always a nice little milestone to get to. And then the Astros kind of came to play. Kyle Tucker showed up like he always does. And they end up winning the next 2 games. Even kind of get past a rough Verlander start because they're just hitting enough. That's the scary thing about this Astros team is they can beat you in so many different ways, Bieber. They can outpitch you when the pitching isn't great, and they know they have to score a bunch of runs. They got guys that can hit 3-run homers with the best of them. Kyle Tucker is just constantly raising the price tag. Every freaking beautiful swing this man takes, he's raising it up. They have the Astros are going to have a problem. They have just too many good players going down into the stretch. So they have to figure it out. I like what they're doing with Hunter Brown. They're trying to limit his innings. So he actually came in relief in the second game. Because they're going to use him in that role and then skip his next start to make sure he's fresh and to limit his innings. He's still going to pitch. He's still in the big leagues, but it's a creative way for them to get him a little bit of rest. So,
and they're a team that we've seen come playoff time kick a guy to the bullpen, especially a young starter. So I don't know if that specifically is going to be their plan with Brown. He's been so good. Maybe they do want him to start a game and just keep him fresh, but prep him a little bit for that role if that's what they end up wanting him to do. They do things the smart way pretty much every time.
Yes.
Almost too smart. It's gotten them in trouble before, but they're
actually that's the dumbest thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
But Last game, like I said, Verlander didn't have his best stuff. Didn't matter because the Astros got off to a 5-0 lead because they hit a bunch of homers in the first inning, so he didn't have to be as sharp. Here's a stat for you: Justin Verlander is 103-0 when given 5 or more runs of support. That's actually a crazy stat.
Yeah, like one time you didn't just ruin it.
Like
that's
5
awesome.
runs. That's nice.
Yeah, that's a good day. Every pitcher signs up for that every time.
Your team, but 103-0.
That's a lot of opportunities to do it. Like 5 runs. Yes, that's a lot. Every pitcher would sign up for that every time they start, but it's not like a crazy number.
No,
that, like you would think like, oh, insurmountable. Like even like 7. I'd like
insane.
That. That's awesome.
The Astros doing their thing. Another note from this series: Bernie Williams performed a guitar rendition of the national anthem because that's what he does.
We had this game on. We had the 6 TVs set up while we were watching the Yankees, and this was one of them. And at one point, we just looked down and we're like, "Is that Bernie Williams in the Marlins booth right now?" And it was. he looks really good.
I'm sure he does. Next series. This one's gonna be a tough one for you, Beebs. The Braves sweep the Yankees. Give me your take on this one.
I mean,
quickly.
Honestly, there's not much to say. The good team beat the struggling team.
Just say bad team.
They're bad. They've been bad for a while now. Clark Schmidt, feel for him. This was a homecoming performance for him. He's been one of the brightest spots for the Yankees. His struggles through mid-ish May, well documented this year, but he had really figured it out the last several months. He's been the Yankees' second best starter, and he's given them innings and all that. So everybody was kind of excited for him to get this start at home and get a real test against a formidable offense. And there's a reason that offense is formidable. They tagged him. It wasn't a good start. His first real dud in months. And the rest of the way, the Yankees just don't hit. The offense just has not been good enough. We can talk about is that them not having enough fight? Is that them not having enough talent? It's probably some column A, column B. There's Judge had quotes this series about the team not really showing up, and then the next day talked about how they're just a hot stretch away. So I don't know who in the Yankees got to them. Away. But it's the Yankees go below 500. Latest in a season they've been below 500 literally in my life. This felt like nail in the coffin. You're below 500. You were swept by a good team that, the Yankees came in hoping to make a statement.
They did. They made a statement.
They made a statement.
It wasn't great.
It's,
you're going up against the Braves, who most people consider, 1A, 1B best team in baseball. You're going up against Nicky Lopez, who's been incredible for them since he's come over. You're going up against Austin Riley, who leads the big leagues with 21 extra base hits and is second with 13 home runs since the All-Star break. The Braves rotation actually has not been great since the All-Star break, but doesn't matter because their offense is a wagon and they're able to overcome some bad starts. I think you said it. This is good team versus bad team.
Good team beat a bad team. They, I know on Talkin Yanks, the show we do about the Yankees, we talked after this set. And we're like, I think this is kind of our pivot point where we're no longer rest of the way going to be talking about worst Yankees team of our life or most disappointing Yankee team of our life. We got to pivot to doing some actual analysis and talking about the guys and figuring out what this team will be moving forward, because there's stuff to learn when you watch the team, even if they aren't pushing for a World Series right now. The Yankees conversation is going to be different, and I don't know how much more about them you're going to hear on this program after this set.
I mentioned the starters have not been up to snuff for the Braves since the All-Star break, but in the last 7 games, they've had 4 shutouts. So do with that what you will, people.
Braves fans, I I would have optimism because I'm a Max Fried believer, and I believe in most of their guys, but I'm sure a lot of them are telling themselves, well, we got to face the Yankees.
A lot of fun. Moving on, let's talk about some different baseball here. The Orioles go into San Diego. The Padres take 2 or 3. They needed to do that. And what I'll call an aesthetically pleasing series. I like the orange going up against the yellow. I think that's all right. A little bit of fall, looks like fall kind of colors in this series.
I don't mind that.
You got that?
I feel that. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Grayson Rodriguez, who we're going to talk about more later in the show. I believe Beavers, you're going to do that. He has a really nice start in that first game. And the Orioles offense does enough. Ryan O'Hearn with the homer. He's been one of the better hitters for the Orioles. And Gunnar Henderson hits a double down the left field line. Nice, pretty swing there. And that's really all the offense they needed. Second game, freaking Padres open it up against my guy Flaherty. I mentioned the Gary Sanchez grand slam. His final line, Flaherty's is 3 innings pitched, 7 earned runs. Padres get a nice start from Walker there. 5 innings pitched, no runs. They kind of just waltzed through that second game 10-3. And then in the last one, Snell doing his dang thing, man. Every single time he goes out, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. They get to Kremer enough. They win it 5-2. Tatis steals homer in this game. Grisham hits a home run. You see in series like this just how good this Padres team can be, how exciting they can be, making plays defensively, having good starting pitching, good timely hitting, making things happen on the base pass. Jake Cronenworth had a hell of a snag there at first base. There's just a lot to like about this team. But then, they'll just go in really bad ruts and spells where their offense doesn't string together hits and they don't hit with runners in scoring position. But if things all click, this can be such a good team.
We've been saying the same thing all year. The talent's there. You've got kind of all 3 facets of the game. You want to be good. You have a rotation you mostly trust, a lineup that is intimidating. You have a bullpen you mostly trust, I think. I haven't checked the stats in a minute. Let's see. They got to be blowing it somewhere. But yeah, they're not a team you want to face. Just the record has not reflected that, but they're something about them. They are alive.
Like if I told you right now, okay, everyone's equal. Start with a 0-0 record. And you have the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Marlins, the Reds, and the Cubs, which is essentially is what we're considering the race for the last NL wildcard spot, right?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't the Padres be like one of the first choices from those teams?
Yeah, it feels like they'd be the Family Feud first choice, maybe. And some people.
Oh, the casual first choice.
I think so. Okay. A little bit.
And for you, a man that is co-hosting one of the greatest baseball shows to ever be done, what do you think? Who would you pick there? Those 5 teams.
Padres would get picked pretty early in the process. The way the Cubs have been playing for a while, and I believe in their lineup and a lot of their guys, they might be the first team I'd say getting that last spot. But I would, if they were an even record from right now, what I would predict the rest of the way would be, I would pick the Padres over the Reds and DBacks right now, just because even the guys on the Padres, some of them have been there and done that, made playoff runs and all that. Most of them have.
Oh boy!
With this team.
Oh boy! I mean,
their whole
agree.
season's made no sense.
It might be Cubs. There might be. I think I might go Padres 1. To be honest with you, it's such an interesting. This wild card race is going to be so fun, because you have the different cast of characters. You have the Padres who probably should be there with what they did in the offseason and the money they have into their roster. And some of the names, and then a bunch of other teams are playing kind of the new brand of baseball. Young kids coming up, taking advantage of the disengagement rule, like stealing bags, like fun young teams with some really young superstars. It's going to be a really fun race.
Yeah, they've been fascinating all year. The silver lining on them just as a whole is basically everybody is fully locked up. Like, this is the crew you'll have, and sometimes having a year like this long term when a group's going to be together, that can help, and you get more comfortable with each other as it goes. So I don't know.
For the Orioles, keep going. They still have.
You didn't get swept.
Didn't get swept.
You're
You
in a
still
good
have,
spot.
I believe, a 2-game lead in the East. Right now,
Yes.
you're the 1 seed.
Yes.
The 1 seed in the AL. The next ones are going to go quick. A's at St. Louis. We're probably going to skip over here. Cardinals take 2 of 3. Anybody we need to mention here? I don't know. Goldie hits a homer. Jordan Walker has a nice game in the first one. Goldie just had a good series here. I'm going to be talking about Zack Gelof in a little bit. We can probably skip this one. Shout out Lawrence Butler, my guy, hits his first homer with the A's. I DM him quite frequently now. He's a stud.
Yeah. Bigger picture for off-season topic, Cardinals will be after some starting pitching this winter. Shocker.
3 of them.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, hey, look, the
Mask.
Rangers did it, so why can't the Cardinals do it?
Go by a rotation.
Next series is a little bit of a what is you doing, baby? Like I mentioned, the Red Sox were trying to keep pace with the Mariners. They lose 2 out of 3. This is more on the Nationals playing good baseball, I think, than the Red Sox playing bad baseball. They've kind of like been pretty hot, I believe. The Nationals. Are there some stats in here that I saw about them going off?
I mean, in general, we did our over/under episode. They're barring something crazy, it seems like they're going to cruise past their over/under line. They've won 13 of 16 at home. They're 20-13 since July 8th. That was my birthday.
20-13 since what?
July 8th.
There we go, Nats.
But playing a decent brand of ball. They're they're a game behind the Mets right now.
Oh, that's so awesome. For them, Kyber Ruiz does his thing. CJ Abrams has been getting it going. I think a lot of people are really enjoying watching him play. And Joey Meneses has a 5 ribby day. Not much to go in here. I still fully believe in this Red Sox team as well. But they got some ground to make up now. Yeah. As the Mariners are kind of soaring. They are 3 games behind the Mariners, 3.5 games behind Toronto. But still very, very doable.
Very doable. You're the trailing team in this race, but definitely in play. I do just think the Red Sox will be playing compelling baseball down the stretch. That said, Boston fans, I'm certain you wish you got at least one more in this set, because 2 out of 3 to the Nats. I know we've just said some nice things about them and how they've played well for a month and a half now, but that's a team you go into that series wanting to win. Yankees have them coming up next week. Nationals, just in general, I think the young guys that Nats fans are interested in have all given them what they want. They're creating the optimism that I think Nats fans are looking for between Abrams and Gore, and Josiah Gray, I think, has been struggling of late, but on the year he's been good. The guys that were important for this season and the franchise's outlook have largely done what you want.
Now, Trevor Story went hitless in this series for the Red Sox. I want to look at what his game log looks like.
Yeah, can't be very many games. This is what, his second series back, maybe third.
Yeah, he has 31 at bats this year. Had a 4-for-4 game August 13th against Detroit. Another good game August 11th versus Detroit. Okay, he's just getting his footing done. That's going to help the Red Sox out a lot once he gets the stick going.
Yeah, it's still very early in his process, but this will, it's not bad. He's only played shortstop too. Last year, 0 shortstop played, so he's back at a position he's comfortable in.
Shout out Luis Arias, first career grand slam. Shout out CJ Abrams, who got to 30 stolen bases on the year. Joins some fun players to steal 30 bags. I'm going to list them off right now. It is Trey Turner, who did it 4 times, Alfonso Soriano, Denard Spand, and T. Plush, Niger Morgan. That's a blast from the past. Are you familiar with T. Plush and Niger Morgan? Like, do you remember all those?
I remember them.
Things he did.
Yeah, he's a wild man. And actually, the Nats record is better than we said. It updated after the last game. 14 of 17 at home, 21 and 13 since July.
Damn.
So I was a game off. I'm sorry.
T. Plush, dude. That's a blast from the past for me.
He's a great
They were
name.
on a fall league together.
Yes, he was a name that popped up on the when we deep dove on that team.
Yep. Okay, the last 3 series here are all 2 games. I believe they all got split. So we'll go through these quickly. Phillies split with the Blue Jays. A nice pitching matchup in game 1. Wheeler versus Kikuchi. Kikuchi's been nasty. Wheeler's is nasty. Whit Merrifield scores 2 runs for the Blue Jays. They win 2-1. And then the second game, Harper kind of goes off. Him and Jake Cave. Harper has the 2 homers. It was his first multi-home run game of the season. And we've talked about his lack of slug this year. This is exactly what the Phillies need to get going. They win that second one 9-4. And again, Nola, not a great start, not a great year so far. The numbers are not there. Kevin Gausman, who was lights out coming into this game, he got hit a little bit. And that's what scares you about this Phillies team is they don't give a shit who's on the mound. At any given moment, they can put up 7, 8, 9, 10 runs.
Yeah.
And that's why they're scary because they can mix that with some really good starting pitching from time to time.
Yeah. That team, again, another team you just aren't going to enjoy facing if you've got yourself lined up against them in a playoff set.
Both these teams gonna be in the playoffs. We think Toronto holding on to that last spot. Am I right?
Now,
the last spot.
I believe right now they still possess the final spot. They are but they're half game up on the Mariners, who I think have the more favorable schedule and slightly better juice going. That'll be a good race.
Another team where I'm like, man, you guys just need to go. You're too good. Kevin Biggio, how about that? Gets hit in the foot with bases loaded to put the go-ahead run there. That's kind of a heartbreaker if you're a Phillies fan. Blue Jays 24-12 in interleague play after that first game.
Okay.
I don't know if it was on this show we mentioned Yusei Kikuchi. I don't think it was. I think that was on Baseball Today.
I think so.
He has 13 starts of 1 or fewer runs allowed, leads the big leagues in that category.
Yeah, he's putting together his best big league season. That's nice to see.
Guardians at Reds. Guardians win the first game. Steven Kwan, Jose Ramirez both have nice games offensively. Logan Allen does his thing. In the second game, the Reds win that one 7-2. McClain goes 3 for 5 with a homer. Stuart Fairchild goes 2 for 4 with a homer. TJ Fradel has some nice catches and goes 3 for 5 with 3 runs scored as they win that one in convincing fashion. They take Syndergaard and Abbott does his thing. So they split that series. Again, Guardians are just like going to be 500. Twins need to take advantage of that. They have not done that yet. Guardians are still in play for the AL Central, even though they're not really giving their best full effort.
Yeah, they have some talent. They're in play there, but feels like top down, not going for it. I don't know why.
It's weird, and they have their pitching has been great. It's all young pitchers because that's exactly what you'd expect from Cleveland. That's what they do. Since the All-Star break, best ERA in the big leagues, 2.73, and it's been a lot of rookies.
They traded away
Spivey, Allen, and then Curry coming into it. And I don't know, man. Cleveland fans get mad at me because they think I'm not really talking about their team correctly, but I believe I am, and they're just not willing to admit it.
I
I know these guys are young. I know that they're going to have innings limits, and that's their organization's way of handling it. Fine. I just,
it largely
I don't know,
works for
man.
the franchise, so who am I to fully doubt it? But feels like you have opportunities. Shouldn't just kind of punt on it, which that is from an outsider what it feels like Cleveland is doing.
Sure. And the last series, White Sox Cubs, they split. I mentioned La Pantera hits a freaking bomb, has some stuff to say to the Wrigley crowd about it. They win the first game 5-3. They look like they're going to sweep this one, Beavers. And then Chris Morel says, "Nah, I'm good." Walk off 3-run homer. He goes nuts.
That's
Nuts.
awesome.
And that was, the White Sox had a chance to sweep because Clevenger goes 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, but not enough. Magical pinch hit, home run, and then Chris Morel doing his thing. The Cubs seem to have some sort of that magic that teams need to go on these runs like they've gone on.
Yeah, they're that was a big one. You don't want to get swept, even if it's a 2-game set. Don't want to get swept by the White Sox when you're the Cubs trying to lock down a playoff spot, and they get a big one out of Christopher Morel, who is a joy to watch.
He is a joy to watch. Another person that's been really, really good for the Cubs, who probably doesn't get enough love and had a big series and a big outing in this one, was Michael Fulmer. A 1.65 ERA over his last 30 appearances as the setup man for the Cubs. I mean, that's Beaves. We talk about all the time what I want in my team. If I'm building a roster, I want a bunch of Cubans. Love me some Cuban ball players. I want some veterans on that team. I need a good clubhouse. And then I want some young, fast guys. You know what else I want?
What else do you want?
A back end of the bullpen I can trust. When we get leads, I want you 3 guys to go just finish the game. And honestly, I don't even care what order it happens. Do we need a closer, guys? Can we just do a 3-headed thing and we'll mix and match? That's what I want. Cubs have that right now. And Fulmer's a big part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
20 of 30 games in the second half, Beavers, the Cubs have won.
Sheesh. Yeah, Fulmer figured it back out again. He he comes over from Detroit this offseason, right? And it was a slow start for him. He was getting hit around early, but he is fully locked in from June on. He's been lights out for them. So that's been a big part of their turnaround.
Holy shnikey, we did it. We got through the interleague. Now it's time to enter the second half of the show. And that always starts off with
Standout
performances. Beavers, I'll let you go first.
Trev, I have a standout that I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to our Baltimore and Padres series. Padres win 2 out of 3. The one game they lose Monday. Grayson Rodriguez, 7 innings pitched, 3-hitter, 1 earned run. I believe it was just a little solo shot. 1 walk, 6 Ks. Gets the win. Only throws 95 pitches, so was efficient as well. And this is a little more all-encompassing. He struggled in his first taste of the big leagues, as many do. In his 6 starts since coming back up in July, 35.2 innings pitched. He's got a 3.30 ERA, a 2.95 FIP. Opponents are hitting 195 against him for 517 OPS. They're not slugging. Only giving up the 1 homer, and that was this week. And even you can butter knife even further. Because that first start was, I think, 5 innings, 4 earned. You're not going to brag about that. He's got a 2.35 ERA in the last 5 starts, 30 innings pitched. So he's a guy that has figured it out. We've talked a lot about the clear weakness identity-wise of this Orioles team is not having the front-end rotation talent. And Grayson we always thought, the plan is to have him develop into that. But he might be just about there. He's been really doing it. Gotta imagine he's in their playoff plans a little bit.
He has been, as you mentioned with all those stats, absolutely lights out as of late. And you're totally right. We always talk about this Orioles team and, hey, man, they need these starters. And, he didn't start out great this year. He's obviously turned it on. This Orioles team is very, very fun to watch. And Grayson, you're right. Grayson Rodriguez, if they do make a deep run postseason wise, he's 100% going to be a part of it. For me,
who you got?
Where were you when Zack Gelof made his major league debut? That's what I want to know, Beavers. Do you know? Where were you on July 14th?
July 14th? Oof. I think we were back from Seattle at that point, right?
We were. This was the first series after the All-Star break. I was there at the game when he made his debut. And it was him and Soderstrom. They made it together, and Gelof was kind of like the afterthought. A lot of people were looking at Soderstrom and saying, okay, this guy's going to be it. He's going to be the guy, and he looked good too. But Gelof has been absolutely incredible to start his big league career. On Wednesday, 8-16, he went 4 for 5 with 2 doubles, 2 ribbies, a run, and a stolen base. His line on the year is absolutely nuts. 294, 353, 633 for a 986 OPS, a 176 OPS plus. In 109 at bats, Beavers, he's already racked up 1.4 baseball reference WAR. He's got 8 homers, 7 stolen bases. It's really been it's fun to watch. He's listed as 6'2". He doesn't look 6'2". I was just about to say, how tall is this dude? He wears the high pants. So I think maybe that cuts him off a little bit. But what I see and what I've seen from Zack is an absolute athlete out there. He's got all the fast twitch muscles. He does everything quickly. Everything seems powerful. And to start your career the way he started his career, especially when you're on a team like the A's. Now, for him, he knows he's going to be playing. So, at a certain point, you feel good about that. Hey, it doesn't matter if I struggle or not. I'm probably still going to get at bats. But this guy hasn't struggled at all. I mentioned all the numbers that he has. They're incredible for anybody to have those, but especially a 23-year-old rookie to come up and do the things he's done is really impressive. He's actually went to high school in Delaware. So shout out Delaware.
Delaware guy.
Yeah.
I have some fun facts about Zack Gelof.
We'll love it.
He has a brother in the Dodgers system. He's going to be a stud too. Both of them were the 60th overall pick in the draft, second rounders. So I'm calling a little funny business there. But yeah, A's, Dodgers, that's fun. The 2 Gelof boys from Delaware. And they have something in common with me. We're all Jewish athletes. So my guy is
part of the tribe.
He's in the tribe, baby. So Jake and Zack Gelof, big fan of you guys. I'm buying a lot of stock. You're kind of carrying us for a bit.
I need to add that to my dream roster. Some Cuban ball players. I need a Jewish ball player.
You need one.
One of my favorites growing up was Sean Green. And so, I'm in for that.
You need to mix in. Okay. Need to mix in. Learning his name was Jake was also a little funny business. Zach's brother. Jake was in the room with me when I found that out. That freaked me out. It was right after we did all the Jake shout-outs on this show. So, I don't know. Another Jake on the way.
I love the Jewish religion. I do.
Me too.
I grew up with a ton of Jewish friends who were always welcoming and inviting me over to all the Jewish holidays, which there kind of are a lot.
There's a lot of them.
And so I'm fond of it. A lot of people out here that I know have kind of mixed parents. They do Jewish religion holidays and also celebrate Christian holidays. So I'm like, how does that work for you guys?
Just get everything.
The tree and the menorah, you can do both.
Apparently, that wasn't me.
You weren't allowed to do that.
No, we picked a side.
A lot of other guys we could have mentioned. Gary Sanchez, he had the grand slam against Flaherty. Harold Ramirez had a big game for the Rays. Rosario, Simeon, Bobby Witt Jr., Marcelo Zuna, Riley Green, all those guys could have mentioned, but they weren't.
Some of them are coming up.
Some of them are coming up. And the next part of our show is
Dirt Nasty's on Fuego. That means I'm on fire, baby. Like Waco.
I love doing in Fuego because we get to highlight the guys we need to highlight. Some of these guys we've already talked about, like Christian Walker, 6 for 11 in the series with the 4 homers, 22 homers against Colorado, with 13 being at Coors Field. He's tied with Max Muncy for the most homers of any active visiting player at Coors Field since 2018. That's a butter knife stat if I've ever heard one. But Christian Walker is a absolute stud. Julio Rodriguez has been going off. And he single-handedly won them this 4-game set. 12 for 21, 3 doubles, a homer. He had 11 runs batted in the series. He had 12 hits, like I mentioned, in that 4-game set. That set a franchise record for any series. He's the first Seattle player with at least 20 homers in each of his first 2 seasons. You could go on and on about this guy. He's a stud. DJ Stewart, outfielder for the Mets, 4 for 6, only 2 games played in this one, but 3 of those were homers. He wants to buy diapers for his kids. For the week of August 11th through August 17th, Riley Green, mentioned him a little bit, 10 for 22, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 7 ribbies. How about Nelson Velasquez for the Royals? He goes 8 for 23. 4 of those hits were homers, 5 ribbies, 9 career homers, and 214 at-bats with Chicago Cubs. He has 4 already in only 23 at-bats with Kansas City, just a week after being acquired. And your old friend, Aroldis Chapman, had a nice week. 4 games pitched in, 4 innings pitched, no runs, 2 hits, 8 Ks. In his last 21 innings pitched, he's only allowed an earned run in 1 of those appearances. So 21 games, he's only allowed an earned run in 1 of those appearances, has a 1.29 ERA and 40 Ks in those 21 innings pitched. He's, holy crap.
That. Looking like prime Aroldis.
Holy shnikes. Good job, Rangers, on going out and getting him early on. Any team could have had this guy. He was on the Royals, for God's sake.
Everyone knew he was being traded at some point.
What were teams thinking not going out and getting this guy?
Yeah, a team like that was fully out of it. Like, you knew they were going to trade their dudes. Call them up.
Oh, my. Okay. For the 2 weeks, August 3rd through August 17th, Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates, 19 for 61, 6 homers, 10 ribbies. That's a 1 daughter over that time. Max Scherzer, another guy. Hey, great job, Rangers. You went out and did it. 3 games started within that time frame, 20 innings pitched, 4 earned runs for a 1.8 ERA and a 0.8 whip. He's a stud. How about Julio Urias. For the Dodgers, he had a bad July, but in these 3 games, the last 3 games, 18 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 22 Ks for a 1.5 ERA. He had a 6.23 ERA in July and only has a 1.5 in August. So he's turned things around. And that, my friends, is who's in Fuego. You want to do the IL real quick before we get into the last section of the show?
Injury updates. Start with the bad stuff. Place on the IL. Steven Matz. G-Man Choi. He's a fun guy. Manny Marco goes on the IL. JJ Bleday. Willie Castro for your Twinkies. Ozzy Albies. That one you get noticed for. But they've got Nicky Lopez just ready to step in and never get out again. That's some funny business. Tom Murphy in Seattle. Nolan Gorman hits the IL. Mets. You lose Mark Vientos. That's a guy you wanted to watch the rest of this year. Returning from the IL, Aaron Hicks, Charlie Blackmon, nice couple outfielders I like. Jordan Romano gets back for Toronto, that's big. Hunter Harvey's back for the Nats. Michael Wacha, that's going to be important for the Padres. Royce Lewis returns, I like that. You like that. Kittredge comes back too. That's a guy I haven't gotten to think about in a while. And those are your big injury updates.
Nice. Beavers, hit the awards button real quick just for fun.
Awards!
Shout out Kelson Casey. I think it's a package deal now. We just got to shout out Casey.
Point. By law.
Why not? By law.
Always shouting out Casey.
I believe they're both together in Colorado, if the Instagram stories are correct.
Seem like they're having a good week.
That's fun. Newlyweds.
Yeah.
What's not fun about being a newlywed? We aren't doing awards today because it is Friday. It's August 18th. We got Beavers on the main mic, so that means one thing and one thing only. It is the Stimulator Simulator, and please, Beavers, hit that freaking tune.
Oh, it's bumped.
Oh my goodness. And I think we got some good matchups here, so I can't wait to see what you do. We are going to start off in the American League as the Twins host the Blue Jays in a wild card matchup. Who do you got moving on from that?
I'm in on the Twins, baby.
They not only win their first playoff game in 2 decades, they get their first series win
2 wins
in a couple of decades. I like that
2
a lot.
wins,
We'll stay in the American
Twins.
League. The other wild card matchup, Tampa Bay hosting the Houston Astros.
Oh, how about your wild card matchup? Ooh, Astros.
Astros moving on to face Baltimore. We'll move over to the National League side now. There are some teams tied, but the Cubs have the tiebreaker here, so they will be in Milwaukee to take on the Brew Crew in a wild card set. Who moves on there?
It's the Brew Crew.
Milwaukee says we are the toast of the town. They take that one. Now Philly host the Giants in a wild card matchup to face the Braves. Who wins that one? Who gets to face the Atlanta Braves?
Wow. It's Philly.
Wow, I thought you were going to go with the Giants there. You surprised me. I was almost ready to write that down, but you went Philly. Okay, so now back to the American League. We have Minnesota. They go down to Texas for the divisional series. Who wins that one?
It's the Texas Rangers.
Texas moves on to take my Twins out. Staying in the AL, it's Houston matching up against Baltimore, the number 1 seed.
These are 2 orange teams. Houston season begins in the ALCS.
Houston moves on, and we got an all-Texas CS
Woo!
in the AL. Back to the NL. Milwaukee has to travel to face the Dodgers in LA. Who moves on to the NLCS?
I think we just got a taste of it, and it's the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one too. Philadelphia goes into Atlanta. Big series. Who moves on to face the Dodgers?
Philly with a stunner.
Wow. All that work for nothing, Braves.
Too much
All that
resting.
work for nothing. All right. 2 big CSs here. I like the way this is matched up. In the AL, Texas hosts the Houston Astros.
Rangers make it.
The Texas Rangers get to the World Series? And who are they matching up against? LA hosting the Phillies.
It's the Dodgers.
The Dodgers are inevitable. Texas Rangers, Los Angeles Dodgers World Series. The winner of the 2023 World Series is...
A few years ago, World Series was played in Texas. The Dodgers got to win a World Series in Texas. And they would love to do that again, celebrate in the same place, but it is the Texas Rangers winning the World Series.
The Texas Rangers, your 2023 World Series champs. My goodness. What a way to enter the weekend, Beavers.
Let's have a good weekend, everybody.
Unbelievable. The Rangers shock the world.
Expectations changed. Chick sucks.
I believe Jake will be back on Monday for the show. I appreciate people. I know we've been kind of inconsistent with all of the hosts, but we're doing our best over here in the dog days of August. Me and Beavers are animals. Thank you to Jose Siri.
Great work, Jose.
Producing. Way to go.
Great work.
We'll see you guys on Monday.
Subscribe if you want.